Hey everyone, welcome to this session on Python developer interview questions. If you are preparing for a Python related role, you have come to the right place. In this video, I will walk you through some of the most commonly asked Python interview questions, breaking them down in a simple and easy to understand way. So let's get started. So what are Python's key features? Python has several key features that make it popular choice among developers. It is an interpreted language, meaning it does not require compilation before execution. It's high level, making it easy to read and write. Python is also dynamically typed, meaning you don't need to specify variable types. It has automatic garbage collection, which manages memory efficiently. Plus, Python has an easy to learn syntax and a vast collection of libraries that support different functionalities from web development to machine learning. Now that we understand Python's key feature, let's explore where it is commonly used. So, what is Python used for? Python is a highly versatile language used in many domains. It's widely used in web development, frameworks like Django and Flask. It is a dominant force in data science and machine learning thanks to libraries like NumPy, Pandas, and TensorFlow. Python is also popular for automation and scripting, helping automate repetitive tasks. Whether it's a game development, networking, or cybersecurity, Python plays a key role across industries. Since Python is used in so many fields, it's important to understand the data types that power its functionality. Let's talk about Python's built-in data types. So, what are the Python's built-in data types? Python provides several built-in data types to handle different types of data. These include first, numeric types, int, float, and complex for handling numbers. Second, sequence types, list, tuple, and range for ordered collection. Third, set types, set and frozen set used for unique elements. Fourth, mapping type, dict, which is Python's dictionary for key value pairs. And last, text type, string, str, used to handle strings. Okay. Understanding these data types is crucial, but what about how Python manages memory? Let's find out. So, explain Python's memory management. Python efficiently manages memory using three key mechanisms. First, private heap space. All Python objects and data structures are stored in a private heap. Second, garbage collection. Python automatically free up unused memory using a built-in garbage collector. And third, reference counting. Python keeps track of the number of reference to an object and deletes it when it's no longer needed. These features ensure that Python handles memory effectively without requiring manual intervention. Now let's move on to an important concept, shallow copy versus deep copy. This is something you might encounter often while working with objects in Python. So what is the difference between deep copy and shallow copy? A shallow copy creates a new object but keeps reference to the original element. This means if the original object changes, the copy may also reflect those changes. On the other hand, a deep copy creates an entirely new object and recursively copies all nested elements, ensuring that changes to the original object don't affect the copied one. Python provides the copy module to perform both shallow and deep copies. Okay? Now that we have discussed object copies, let's take a step back and understand Python's standard data types in a bit more detail. So, what are Python's standard data types? Python's standard data types are categorized into four broad groups. First one is number, integers, floating points, and complex numbers. Second, sequences, strings, lists, and tuples. Third one is sets, unordered collection of unique elements, and the last, mapping, dictionaries that store key value pairs. These data types form the foundation of Python programming. Speaking of efficiency, let's discuss a powerful Python feature, list comprehension. List comprehension is a concise and efficient way to create lists using a single line of code instead of writing loops. Okay? So let me give you an example. Let's think I have created an list squares equals 2 and in the big bracket I have passed x to the power 2 for x in range and then I passed 10. Okay? So what does this mean? This creates a list of squares from 0 to 9 in a compact and readable way. It improves code readability and performance. Now that we have covered list comprehension, let's move on to another fundamental topic, functions. So, what are Python's functions? Functions are reusable block of code that perform specific tasks. In Python, functions are defined using the def keyword. Now, if you are wondering about differences between Python versions, let's discuss Python 2 versus Python 3. So, what is the difference between Python 2 and Python 3? Python 2 and Python 3 have several differences, but the most noticeable one is how they handle the print statement. In Python 2, print is written without parentheses, while in Python 3, print is a function, so it requires parentheses. Other key differences include improved Unicode support and better integer division in Python 3. Python 2 is no more longer supported, and Python 3 is the recommended version of all projects. Now let's move to the next question. What is Python's PEP8? PEP8 stands for Python Enhancement Proposal 8, which is the official style guide for writing Python code. It ensures that code is readable and maintainable. Some key PEP8 recommendations include using 4 spaces per indentation level, limiting line length to 79 characters, using meaningful variable names, writing commands to explain complex logic. Following PEP8 helps keep code clean, consistent, and professional. Now let's move to the next question. Explain Python's lambda function. Lambda functions in Python are anonymous functions, meaning they don't have a name. They are mainly used when a short function is required for a brief period. Instead of defining a function with a def keyword, we can use lambda to create quick one-line function. These are often used in situations where a simple transformation or filtering operation is needed, especially when working with data or functional programming techniques. Now let's move on to a special statement in Python that acts as a placeholder, the pass statement. So what is Python's pass statement? In Python, the pass statement is used when a block of code is required syntactically but doesn't need to perform any action. Think of it as a placeholder that allows the code to run without errors while you plan to implement functionality later. It is commonly used in function definitions, loops, and conditional statements when you don't want to execute anything yet but need to maintain the structure of your code. Since we are discussing structuring code, let's now talk about Python's way of organizing functionality using modules and packages. So what are Python's module and packages? A module in Python is simply a file that contains Python code, such as function, classes, or variables, that can be reused in different programs. This helps keep the code modular and organized. On the other hand, a package is a collection of multiple modules structured in a way that allows for better code. Organization packages usually contain an init.py file, which helps Python recognize them as a package. Using modules and packages make large projects more manageable and encourages reusability of code. Now that we understand how Python organizes code, let's talk about an important method inside classes, the init method. So what is Python's init method? The init methods is a special method in Python classes, often referred to as a constructor. It is automatically executed when an object of the class is created. Its primary purpose is to initialize object attributes, ensuring that every object starts with some predefined values. This method plays a crucial role in object-oriented programming, allowing objects to be set up properly when they are created. Now let's discuss how Python handles variable length argument using arg and quarks. So what are Python's args and quarks? Python provides args and quarks as flexible ways to pass multiple arguments to a function. Args allows a function to accept any number of positional arguments, making it useful when you don't know how arguments will be passed. Quarks allows a function to accept any number of keyword arguments, which are name value pairs. These features help make functions more dynamic and reusable by allowing them to handle different numbers of input flexibly. Handling arguments dynamically is great, but what happens when something goes wrong? But what happens when something goes wrong? That's where exception handling comes in. So let's understand Python's exception handling. Exception handling in Python is a way to manage errors gracefully without crashing the entire program. It follows a structured approach using try, except, else, and finally blocks. This allows the program to detect and handle different types of error in a controlled manner. Exception handling is a crucial when working with user inputs, file operations, or any code that interacts with the external system where unexpected errors might occur. Now let's talk about a keyword that is widely used in object-oriented programming, the self keyword. The self keyword represents the current instance of a class and is used to access attributes and methods belonging to the instance. It helps differentiate between class attributes and local variables, ensuring that each object can maintain its own unique data. Every method inside a class typically takes self as its first parameter to indicate that it belongs to a specific instance. Now that we have understand the object-oriented programming, let's discuss an essential feature of Python used for handling sequences: slicing. Slicing is a technique used to extract a specific portion of sequence such as string, list, and tuples. Python allows slicing using a simple syntax that specifies a range of elements based on starting and ending positions. It also includes an optional step value, allowing users to skip elements at regular intervals. This feature is typically useful in data processing, where extracting and manipulating portion of datasets is a common task. Now let's discuss three powerful built-in functions that help process data efficiently: map, filter, and reduce. These three functions are part of Python's functional programming approach. First is map. Map is used to apply a function to each item in an iterable, transforming all elements at once. Second, filter. Filter is used to select elements from an iterable that meet a certain condition. Third, reduce. Reduce is used to apply a rolling computation continuously, combining elements until only one result remains. Together, these functions allow for efficient and concise data manipulation, reducing the need for lengthy loops. Now let's discuss access specifier in Python and how they control the visibility of variables and methods. So what is Python's global, protected, and private access specifiers? Python uses naming convention instead of strict access specifier like in some other programming language. Global variables are accessible throughout the entire script. Second, protected variables indicated by a single underscore suggest that they shouldn't be accessed directly outside the class. And third, private variables indicated by double underscores prevent direct access from outside the class, promoting encapsulation. These conventions help developers maintain clean and well-structured code while still allowing some level of access control. Okay, learners, let's move to the next question. What is Python's decorators? Decorators in Python are a powerful tool used to modify the behavior of functions or methods without directly changing their code. They allow us to wrap another function and add additional functionality to it. This is especially useful when implementing logging, authentication, or performance measurement in Python programs. Decorators are widely used in frameworks like Flask and Django to handle tasks such as routing and authentication seamlessly. Now that we have seen how decorators modify functions, let's move on to ensuring that our function work correctly through testing. So what is Python's unit test framework? The unit test framework is Python's built-in testing library that helps in writing and running tests for Python code. It provides various assertion methods to check the correctness of function and ensure that code behaves as expected. Writing tests using unit tests is a best practice in software development, making application more reliable and maintainable. Now let's talk about a special statement in Python that helps with resource management, the with statement. The with statement in Python is used to manage resources efficiently by ensuring that they are properly handled, such as closing files or releasing logs. For example, when working with files, using with open, file name, comma mode, as file automatically closes the file once the block is exited. This prevents resource leaks and makes the code cleaner and more readable. Speaking of managing resources, let's now discuss two powerful tools for handling data sequences, iterators and generators. Iterators and generators are both used to iterate over sequences in Python, but they work differently. Iterators are objects that implement the iter and next method, allowing us to retrieve element one by one. Generators are a simpler way to create iterators using the yield keyword, which remembers the state of the function and resumes execution from where it left off. Generators are memory efficient and are commonly used when dealing with large data sets or streaming data. Now that we have covered core Python concepts, let's move into web development with Python's two most popular frameworks, Django and Flask. Django is a high-level web framework designed for rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. It follows the model view template architecture and provides built-in features like authentication, database management, and security measures, making it a powerful choice for building full-fledged web applications. If Django is for large-scale applications, what if we need something lightweight? That's where the Flask comes in. Flask is a micro web framework for Python that provides the essential tools to build web applications with minimal overhead. Unlike Django, Flask is lightweight and flexible, giving developers more control over application structure. It is a popular choice for smaller projects, APIs, and applications that require a custom architecture. Now that we understand Python frameworks, let's discuss a key topic in object-oriented programming, the different types of methods in a class. So, what is the difference between class method and static method and instant methods? In Python, we have three types of methods inside a class. First, instance method operate on instances and can access instant attributes. Second, class methods using @class method operate on the class itself and can modify class level attributes. Third one, static method using static method are independent of both instances and class, acting like regular function within a class. Each of these have its own use case, making object-oriented programming in Python highly flexible. Now let's talk about two operators in Python that often cause confusion. Okay? So what is the difference between is and double equals to? The difference between is and double equals to lies in how they compare objects. Is checks whether two variables reference the exact same object in memory, while double equals to check whether the values of two objects are equal, regardless of whether they are the same object in memory. This distinction is particularly important when working with mutable and immutable objects in Python. So, speaking of mutable and immutable objects, let's now compare list and tuples. The key difference between list and tuples is mutability. Lists are mutable, meaning their contents can be changed after creation. Tuples are mutable, meaning they cannot be changed once created. Tuples are generally used for fixed collection of data, while lists are used when data needs to be modified dynamically. Finally, let's revisit an important topic, deep copy versus shallow copy. So, what is the difference between deep copy and shallow copy? Deep copy and shallow copy determine how objects are duplicated in Python. A shallow copy creates a new object but maintains reference to the original element. If the original object changes, the copied object is also affected. A deep copy creates a completely independent copy, including recursively copying all nested objects. Changes in the original object do not affect the copied version. Understanding this concept is crucial when working with complex data structure in Python. So let's move to the next question. What's the difference between del, remove and pop? In Python, there are multiple ways to remove elements from a collection, but they work differently. Del is used to delete an item by its index in a list or even delete a variable entirely. Remove deletes an element by value, meaning it searches for the item and removes the first occurrence. And pop removes an item by index but also returns the removed item, which makes it useful when we need to work with the deleted element. Each of these methods serve as different purpose depending on whether we are deleting by index or by value. Now, speaking of manipulating data, let's move on to two important string functions, split and join. Okay, these two functions are commonly used when working with strings in Python. Split breaks a string into a list based on a separator like spaces or commas. Join does the opposite. It takes a list of strings and joins them into a single string with a given separator. For example, if you have a sentence and want to break it into words, you use split, and if you want to turn a list of words back into a sentence, you use join. Now let's talk about a special type of set in Python, frozen set. A set in Python is a collection of unique elements that is mutable, meaning we can modify it by adding or removing elements. A frozen set, on the other hand, is immutable, meaning once created, its content cannot be changed. Frozen sets are useful when we need to ensure that a set remains constant, such as when using sets as dictionary keys or storing them in other sets. Since we are discussing collections, let's compare two commonly used data structure, list and dictionaries. So, what is the difference between a list and a dictionary in Python? The fundamental difference between lists and dictionaries is how they store data. A list is an ordered collection of elements accessible by an index, and while a dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pairs where each value is accessed using a unique key. Dictionaries are more efficient when we need to perform fast lookups based on a key, whereas lists are better for ordered data storage. Now that we have covered Python's core data structure, let's compare Python with other programming languages. So, what is the difference between Python and other programming languages? Python stands out from other programming languages due to several key features. First, dynamically typed. Unlike languages like Java or C++, Python doesn't require explicit type declaration. Second, simpler syntax. Python's syntax is easy to read and write, making it beginner friendly. Third one is extensive libraries. Python has a vast ecosystem of libraries for everything from web development to machine learning. These features make Python a preferred choice for many developers across different domains. Now let's talk about an important concept in Python's threading model, the Global Interpreter Lock (GIL). So what is Python's GIL, Global Interpreter Lock? The Global Interpreter Lock is a mechanism in Python that ensures only one thread can execute Python bytecode at a time. Even though Python supports multi-threading, the GIL prevents true parallel execution in CPU-bound tasks. However, it does not affect performance when working with input-output bound operations like network request or file handling. This is why Python developers often use multiprocessing instead of threading for CPU-intensive tasks. Now that we have talked about execution control, let's revisit an important distinction in Python: mutable versus immutable types. In Python, data types are classified as mutable or immutable based on whether their values can be changed after creation. Mutable types like lists, dictionaries, and sets allow modification after creation. Second, immutable types like strings, tuples, and frozen sets cannot be changed once created. Understanding this distinction helps avoid unintended modifications, especially when passing objects as function arguments. Speaking of storing data, let's now compare arrays and lists in Python. While lists are the commonly used data structure in Python, arrays serve a different purpose. Lists can store different data types, integer, string, etc., while array from the array module are designed to store only one type of data, making them more memory efficient for numerical computations. For larger numerical data sets, developers often prefer NumPy arrays, which offer better performance than Python's built-in list. Now let's compare Python with two widely used programming languages, Java and C++. Okay? So, what is the difference between Python and Java? Python and Java are both powerful programming languages, but they differ in key ways. Python has a simpler syntax, making it easier to learn and write code quickly. Java is statically typed, meaning variables need explicit type declaration, whereas Python is dynamically typed. Third, Python is interpreted, while Java is compiled into bytecode that runs on the Java virtual machine. Java is often preferred for enterprise applications, while Python is widely used in data science, automation, and web development. Now let's compare Python with another major programming language, C++. Python and C++ have some fundamental differences in how they operate. Python is dynamically typed, whereas C++ is statically typed. Python provides automatic memory management with garbage collection, while C++ requires manual memory management. C++ is much faster than Python due to its compiled nature and low-level memory control. Python is preferred for rapid development, while C++ is used for high-performance applications such as game engines and system programming. Now let's move to the next question. What is the difference between Python and JavaScript? Python and JavaScript are both popular languages, but they serve different purposes. Python is a general purpose language used in data science, automation, and backend development. JavaScript is primarily for web development, powering front-end frameworks like React, Angular, and Vue. Python is dynamically typed, while JavaScript is also dynamically typed but is often used with TypeScript for static typing. If you are working on web application, JavaScript is essential. If you need a versatile language for scripting, data analysis, or AI, Python is the way to go. Now let's compare Python with another flexible language, Ruby. Python and Ruby share similarities, but they have different philosophies. Python focuses on readability and extensive libraries, making it great for beginners. Ruby emphasizes simplicity and productivity, often used in web development with frameworks like Ruby on Rails. Python is more popular in data science and automation, while Ruby is known for startup web application. Both are dynamically typed, but Python's extensive ecosystem gives it an edge in diverse field. Since we are discussing web development, let's compare Python with PHP, another web-focused language. So what is the difference between Python and PHP? Python and PHP are often compared for backend development. Python is a general purpose language used in data science, automation, and AI. PHP is specifically designed for web development, powering platforms like WordPress and Laravel. Python has clear syntax while PHP has evolved to include object-oriented features. If we are focusing on web applications, PHP is still widely used, but Python with Django and Flask is becoming a strong alternative. Now let's move to a language that dominates statistical analysis, R. Both Python and R are used in data science, but they have different strengths. Python is a general purpose language, while R is designed specifically for statistical computing and visualizations. R excels in data analysis and academic research, while Python is more versatile, supporting machine learning, automation, and web development. Python has broader industry adoption, while R remains strong in research and academia. If you are diving into pure statistics, R is great. For a well-rounded skill set, Python is the better choice. Now let's compare Python with a language built for performance, Go. Python and Go are both powerful, but they serve different needs. Python is dynamically typed, easy to learn, and widely used in automation, data science, and AI. Golang is statically typed, designed for concurrent programming and system-level applications. Python has higher developer productivity, while Go is optimized for high-performance applications. If you need speed and efficiency in system-level tasks, Go is ideal. If you want flexibility and ease of use, Python wins. Now let's talk about a language designed for Apple's ecosystem, Swift. Swift and Python have different target areas. Python is general purpose, while Swift is built for iOS and macOS development. Python is dynamically typed, making it more flexible, while Swift is statically typed, leading to better performance and safety. Python is popular in AI, data science, backend development, while Swift is essential for Apple app development. If you want to develop iOS apps, Swift is the go-to language, whereas Python is broader in scope. Now let's compare Python with Kotlin, which is gaining traction in Android development. Python and Kotlin are both modern languages, but they serve different purposes. Python is general purpose, while Kotlin is mainly for Android development. Kotlin is statically typed, ensuring fewer runtime error, while Python is dynamically typed. Python is used in AI, web development, and automation, while Kotlin is optimized for mobile app development. If your focus is on Android apps, Kotlin is ideal. For versatility and AI capabilities, Python is better choice. Now let's look at Rust, a language focused on performance and memory safety. Python and Rust serve very different needs. Python prioritizes ease of use and flexibility, while Rust is designed for memory safety and performance. Rust is statically typed and prevents memory leak, making it great for system programming. Python is more suitable for rapid development, while Rust is better for low-level performance critical applications. If you are building high-performance software with strict memory control, Rust is the way to go. For general development, Python remains the best choice. Now let's compare Python with Scala, a language built for big data processing. Python and Scala are both used in data science, but they have different foundations. Python is dynamically typed, while Scala is statically typed, running on the JVM. Scala is commonly used in big data processing with frameworks like Apache Spark. Python has broader applications in machine learning, AI, and general scripting. If you are working with big data and Spark, Scala is a great choice, but for broader data science and AI applications, Python is the winner. Finally, let's compare Python with TypeScript, a modern web development language. Python and TypeScript serve different development areas. Python and TypeScript serve different development areas. Python is dynamically typed, while TypeScript is statically typed, adding type safety to JavaScript. Python is widely used in backend development, automation, and AI, while TypeScript is mainly used in front-end and full-stack development. TypeScript helps prevent runtime errors in JavaScript-based applications. If you are working with web applications, TypeScript is valuable. But for data science, automations, and backend work, Python is unmatched. And that brings us to the end of this Python developer interview question session. I hope this helped you understand the key concepts and difference between Python and other languages. If you are preparing for a Python job interview, remember, understanding the why behind this answer is just as important as memorizing them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more programming tutorials and interview preparation videos. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you would like me to cover next. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coding!